he's decided to move just out of the blue. He got up and he's looking about. So Andy's saying Cheetah doesn't seem to be used to vehicles. Is he lost? He's not lost, and he is actually ignoring the vehicles. He's quite fine with the vehicles as long as we keep our distance. He's not looking at us. He's doing what Cheetah do, Sandy. He's behaving exactly as I would expect a cheetah to be behaving. He's making sure that everywhere, 360 degrees around him, there's neither predator nor prey. One he might want, one he doesn't want, but the fact is that he's got to be alert all the time. That is what makes a cheetah a successful animal. I'm sitting here, he's coming towards us. If he was not used to the vehicles, he wouldn't be walking towards me. We've also been spending enough time with him over the last few minutes. Well, oops, he stood on a thorn. See, even cheetah can step on thorns. I don't know what that was. It's probably a devil's thorn or something. Very, very sleek little boy. Hello, gorgeous. Right in front of us now. So he's totally relaxed with the vehicles. His nervousness is not about us. If you can notice now, he's totally ignoring us, but he is moving down towards the lodge. You can run outside. You'd see us from, well, maybe not now. But I'm guessing that he's going to head up Wilderness Access Road, maybe. Shouting at him now, and as the squirrel started shouting, his ears went flat. He put his head down as if to say, "Whoops, I've been spotted." Laura, probably every few days. They probably couldn't go longer than a week or so. Now it's getting dark, and he's probably going to find a nice little spot to lie out in the open right now. He might even go and jump up on the sign later, but I think he wants to lie down. Looks like he wanted to lie down there for a minute. This is what I was saying, is that now that he's spent time undercover for so long, sorry, guess it's not too easy to put you down, but the time of day has come that he's now going to spend the rest of it in the open. I guess he's happy enough that there are going to be no predators coming, and he's far enough away from the edges of the open area that if anything were to appear, if there was anything near him, that he would be able to dash off. His speed will get him away from it quick enough. Super that he's in such a relaxed state. Hello, Genevieve. Genevieve in New York. An interesting question. Genevieve is asking, is anything coming? Any people are looking that way for something? Gula might be around. He might even hear some alarm calls and come investigate. Genevieve is asking, with a huge lung capacity, is the diaphragm affected by a full stomach? Because Genevieve is noticing that after the kill that he's had this morning, he's not really panting like the other cats do. I think it's got a lot to do with temperature too right now, Genevieve. I think at the moment it's pretty cool, temperature wise. It's pretty cool that we were the Cheetah, sort of hip hop wise, but temperature wise he's not overheating at the moment. He hasn't been running, he's been resting probably for a considerable part of the day, and I don't think he could have eaten very much of that steenbok. He's looking pretty lean. I think he's maybe even processed some of what he ate earlier. And but I've seen cheetah panting, much like leopard and lion do, with a full tummy on a hot day. And wait till you see a cheetah after it's actually exerted itself in a hunt. Where he's lying now is actually a spot where the local herd of impala spend most of their evenings. Almost every evening that local group of impala are out here, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens as the evening wears on. Very good question from Lisa. Lisa wants to know if he's scent marked anyway or is he incognito all the time. So far, well, I don't know. Lisa, I have no idea. What you have seen of him this afternoon is the same as what I've seen of him. I'd have to ask Scott if he did this morning, because Scott might have seen him moving this morning. I personally, since he got up from the shade where he was earlier to lie down here, I haven't seen him, so I can't answer that. So Scott is saying that he was actually moving quite fast this morning, or in Scotty's words, highly mobile, which is radio parlance for he was moving quite fast. And so Scott didn't see him scent marking this morning. Great having this communication that we do have, because I get the message in my ear as soon as I've asked the question. So not yet. It'd be interesting to see if he does. So at the moment we can assume he's sort of incognito. Squirrels are shouting at him. Hang on. Copied, enjoy. Sherry in Ohio wants to know the lifespan of a cheetah. How old do I think he is? Gosh, numbers again. I don't know, Sherry. I have no idea how old he is, but I'm going to look closer with my binoculars. If he yawns, I'll get a bit of a look at his teeth. If I didn't, he's adult. He's not a fully grown. I'd say he's a young adult. Just looking at his neck, isn't as thick and as robust as not a very big male. Go ahead, Scott. Come and join me. Sorry, Nikki, I was on the other radio, I didn't hear that. Question from birthday girl Brenda. Hello, Brenda. Nice birthday gift for you. Is it true that he uses his tail as a rudder to steer when he's running at high speed? To some degree, yes, steering and balance at high speed. Now, if any of you have ever, maybe as a kid, I don't know, I still do it as an adult sometimes, when you put your hand out of the car window and you're driving at like 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, and you just move your palm up and down a little bit and you see how the wind catches it. Well, if you can imagine a cheetah that's running at maybe 60 miles an hour, 50, 60 miles an hour, the shape of its tail, when it moves its tail from side to side, you can imagine that the wind resistance and the way the tail is shaped, yes, to a large extent it does. It helps to steer the cheetah, but also, most importantly, it's also a balancing thing. It's a counterbalance, because no animal really runs in a straight line. When everything's running away from a cheetah, some of their best defense is changing direction quickly, and so the cheetah has to change direction. In any movie you've ever seen on National Geographic, perhaps, you might find that at high speed you'll see how many times a cheetah is changing direction. So yes, the tail does help with that, but also in terms of throwing its body, look at him, he's quite comfortable now. You know a cat's comfortable when it's rolling on its back. But sometimes you see how when in mid-stream, when or mid-sprint, when a cheetah is changing direction, sometimes throws the tail from side to side more as a counterbalance than as a rudder. So it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of many things. Vicky's saying that the cheetah's head is so much smaller than the body, and is this why they're the fastest land mammals? Not so much the head. Well, the head plays a big part in that, Vicky, most certainly. Having the much smaller head is not carrying the weight of the jowls of a leopard, or rather the jaws and the heavy skull of a leopard or a lion. It's got a much smaller skull, but it's only part of it. The other part of a cheetah's physiology that lends itself to high speed is a very, very narrowed body. You can see it with him lying down. He's only a few inches thick, or I mean, that's maybe 8 to 10 inches at widest, at his most widest point, if that, at the hips and his shoulders. So it's a very, very flattened, what we call dorsoventrally flattened body. Is it dorsoventrally or whatever? It's a flattened body, very long legs, not very. When you look at leopards' legs, you can see the power in their forearms, like their biceps and their forearms, their thighs. The cheetah have very stubby legs. They've got very thick paws in relationship to the size of the body. Cheetah, on the other hand, it's all very, very thin. It's all very, very sleek. It's like that the quintessential runner's body versus sort of the muscle man, the weightlifter, like the leopard. Please watch camera on me. Here we go again with that again, Nikki. And that was from Enid in Connecticut. Hi Enid. And Enid is asking, are cheetah unable to climb trees because they don't have fully retractable claws? No, actually it's got nothing to do with the claws at all, Enid. But yes, you are right, it's more got to do with the physiology, more got to do with the body type. Cheetah don't have retractable claws, but they do have protractile claws. Their claws are fixed. Their claws are fixed because the claws help them give grip when they're running and changing direction at speed. It's why the tail, being a rudder type balancing act, is not the only thing, but also because those claws that are permanently fixed give them grip like a runner's spikes do on their shoes, and yet they are able to protract their claws. They're able to extend their claws, which they do when they're actually making for the kill. They're able to pull their claws out to be able to try and hook, especially the dew claw, I think, to hook that animal in mid-flight and be able to flip it on its back. And sometimes even a cheetah is so successful at that they that the animal either it breaks its neck or it suffers a severe injury at high speed. But it's more a case of they don't have the forearm strength, they don't have the arm strength. They've given up power for speed, and for speed they've been given these very long, very lithe legs that just don't have the power that give them the ability to climb trees. Claws do have a role in that being permanently out the way that they are constantly worn fairly, very blunt. So cheetah's claws are not necessarily as sharp as a leopard's claws that are able to grip, but a cheetah and a leopard could probably extend their claws in a very similar way. It's just that the cheetah can't pull their claws back in the way leopard and lion and other cats are able to. I'm wondering, Scotty's joining me now. I'm wondering if Scotty wants to maybe film him from the other angle.
welcome on board the Jigger, and who would have thought we would have been lucky enough to have both of us here enjoying this incredible sighting together. And not only that, it's great that Jason gets to be involved in his first Cheetah broadcast with WildEarth. He was also here in November, December and January when we didn't see one cheetah, so he's very happy with that. And I'm also so happy. I really didn't expect him to travel this far, and that's the great thing about being here. You always get surprised by the animals and their movements. Justin's noticed, well, we've just got a question through from Justin. Good afternoon, Justin. And Justin has noticed that the cheetah is very alert, and he wonders if they get any stress complications from always being alert. But no, they don't. And think of all the other animals, the impala and all of those animals that are also always on high alert. And even the other predators, even lion will be alert and leopard will be alert, because other lion and other leopard can even be threats to their own species. So I do agree, though, he is on edge, and I think that's got a lot to do with the wind that we're experiencing, and a lot of the animals will become more nervous in the wind because the noise of any animals approaching them would be muffled by the rustling of the wind blowing through the dry vegetation. So the wind definitely does increase alertness of all species of animals out here. Also the fact that he's kind of on unknown territory as far as we know. We're not sure if he's ever been here before, and just like us humans, when we're in an unfamiliar place, we would also be a little bit more alert than normal. He could of course have passed through these clearings without us even knowing, but I think it's fairly fair to assume that he hasn't been here recently, and that may also contribute to his alertness. We've just got another question through from Grace. Good afternoon, Grace, and welcome on board. Grace is interested to know how much sleep cheetah get daily, and I'm sure it's similar to that of lion and leopard, between 18 and 20 hours a day sleep. They will spend a lot of the day resting, and even the night. So no different to a lot of the cats that we have out here, and even domestic cats. They do spend a lot of time sleeping. Well, will the yawn we've just seen be an indicator that he's going to get up and move? It's not guaranteed, and those of you who were with us yesterday with quarantine would have realized that it may not definitely mean that they will get up, but it is a good indicator, and him stretching now is also a good indicator. We've just got a question through from Cecilia in Maryland. Good afternoon. Cecilia is interested to know the difference in the tracks between a leopard and a cheetah, and the main difference is the fact that the cheetah's claws would be present in the tracks on the ground, whereas the leopard's claws would not be present. The leopard only protracts its claws when it's latching onto prey and or climbing trees, for example, whereas the cheetahs are always out. And what has it seen, I wonder? It seems to have seen something. I'll look back and can't see anything from my angle. Maybe it didn't see anything. So that's one of the major differences that you'll look at in the tracks. Their tracks are also quite slender. Their back pad also has 3 lobes, just like a lion and a leopard would, but they are very angular, and what I can do is have a look in my book and see. No, the track in the book is no good. Copy, good plan. So sadly, the photo or the drawing of the cheetah tracks in my book are nothing like the actual real thing, so I can't show you a resemblance in the book or a comparison in my book. But the cheetah's back pad is far more angular, and I like to describe it as shaped like a stealth bomber, that back pad. So considerably different to the track of lion and leopard, the cheetah's tracks, with the main difference being the claws, Cecilia. Sorry, if you could just send that through one more time. Kim in Chicago, good afternoon and welcome. Kim is interested to know whether, if cheetah came across cubs of lion, leopard, or hyena, would they also kill those cubs? And I think the answer to that is yes. But I think there is a very strong chance that that would happen, and competition between all the predators is high, and I'm fairly confident that that would happen. Mark, what do you think about that question?
Oh, that's it. I think I'm kind of the same as you. I've never seen it happen.
Yeah.
But I think that if a cheetah was, especially a male like this, if he came across a leopard cub or something, I don't know if you can hear me. I hope you can hear me.
I think so.
I think so too.
Cool. Well, then we're on the same page there.
Yeah, pretty much. With opportunism, and if you can eliminate your competition, they do.
Exactly.
I don't think they'd seek them out the way that maybe hyena would seek out cubs, or lion would seek out the cubs of competitors.
Oh, he's up. Nikki, I just need to shoot off for a quick comfort break, so if we could cut back to Mark for a few minutes, that would be great.
God, we are really gifted this afternoon, and it happens to be a Saturday too, weekend, so I'm hoping that there are going to be some of you who manage to watch on the weekends that sadly don't join us during the week. I would hate to have this happen on a Wednesday or a Thursday and then you find out about it on a Saturday, so I'm really glad that this cheetah is chosen today of all days. Really beautiful sighting. And just one of those wonderful moments when patience has really paid off, sitting with him and being careful of his space. Now he's so relaxed with us. Question from Fabienne from Canada. Traditionally, how many cubs in a litter and how long would they stay with mom? I'd say on average 3, 4. I've known Cheetah to have 5. I've known Cheetah to have 6 cubs. Obviously, the more cubs, the higher the attrition rate, the higher or rather the lowest the survival rate, because they do lose cubs. But I have on numerous occasions seen a cheetah successfully raise 3 to maturity, and whether they started off as 3 or not is another story entirely, or another matter. But the learning process that I was talking about earlier, this whole process of learning how to hunt and learning how to kill, learning how to not only open the carcass but also learning which part of the carcass they need to eat and how to eat it, and especially because, well, when we look at a cheetah's face, you can see how they're not really built for chewing bone and chewing heavy material, so they don't have those masseter muscles, those cheek muscles that leopard and lion have. And they tend to mostly only go for the meat, which makes a carcass that a cheetah has eaten very easily noticeable, because it's mostly the meat that's eaten off the bone and very little bone that has been chewed. They do chew on the edges of vertebrae and ribs and things. But a cheetah, as soon as they learn how to do these things, as soon as they learn what it is they need to do as fast as they need to do it to survive, they can become independent. And for some cheetah that can happen at 18 months if need be, but generally it's probably from about 2 to 2.5 years. Been a long time since I've sat with cheetah lying in the grass. I used to sit with them at night, I mentioned earlier, in the full moon. Myself and our caterer Phil at the time, she was an Irish lass, very thick Irish accent. Teresa wants to know if there's any prey in the area. I'm not seeing anything yet. I know that there are a lot of nyala around the lodge. We're right next to the lodge. I have to tell you, we are only a stone's throw from the owner of Juma, Yuri and Pippa Moolman. We're only a stone's throw from their house. In fact, from here we can see the mast that we broadcast from is right next to us. That's where all the equipment is that brings you these wonderful images from Africa live in real time. And just to the north of us, just to our left, is Vuyatela Lodge and the staff village, where we stay, in the staff village. And there are a lot of Nyala that live around the lodge, and there are a lot of impala that live out here too. There's a herd of impala that live on quarantine. They spend the day in the bush out off of the open area where they browse and graze, and they come out onto the open for safety, because 364 days of the year it is pretty safe out here. Actually no, it's probably less, because when they're lambing, the hyena out here every night probably eating a few of the lambs, and every now and then leopard and lion come through. But I promise you, they are not expecting this little pussycat. Sometimes on full moon nights I've sat close enough to them where we've sat on the grass next to the vehicle, so we eye level with them in the full moonlight, and we've heard them purring, and they're just as relaxed as him. See, his eyes are closed, his tail is relaxed. Copy, thanks. The other thing is that as it gets dark, which it is going to do, we're going to have to leave him, because his safety depends on his anonymity. His stealth in arriving here, and if we were to put a light on him, well, we could put him in danger. So the one thing that we do not do, we don't use lights with Cheetah at night. They are diurnal predators, and he's out here not to hunt. Well, unless something came now, unless there was an opportunity that surfaced. Interestingly, there is a little bit of a termite mound just off to the side here. I'm guessing he might even go and lie there at some point. Nice view of Scott and Jay on the other side of him. Cheetah. We could swap cameras. We could swap cameras and we could... Okay, your turn to take a photograph of me of Cheetah. We're just showing you what the two vehicles look like from a distance. We don't ever get to show you a vehicle in a sighting, and this is how it gives you an idea of sort of distance and well, this is what we appear. Is Jigger and Scott and Jason, and then we'll just switch so that you can see us from their perspective.
Well, I don't think it gets much better than this. We've got both angles perfectly covered here, and if anything were to approach, we would certainly be able to tell, because we've got a 360-degree view now covered by the WildEarth team. And this is such a special moment, and really, really wonderful that we can both be sharing it here with all of you. And I have no doubt that a lot of you are taking screenshots of this, and we are always so grateful for all the screenshots that you do capture of us and all of the animals. And this is a great opportunity for us to express our gratitude for those screenshots, because without you snapping away, we wouldn't have any of this footage to look at when we grow old. So thank you so much for the screenshots that you do take. Mark's shooting from the hip there, as you can see. A tried and tested photographic technique. Just got a question through from Bob in Iowa. Good evening, Bob, and welcome along. Bob is interested to know whether cheetah are as successful a hunter as wild dogs are. Now, for those of you who don't know, wild dog have an exceptionally high strike rate when hunting, and obviously it does depend greatly on the individual pack, and even a certain pack will go through times when they are hunting efficiently together and at some stages less efficiently, just like a sports team, I guess you could relate it to. And it's no different for cheetah, even though they may not be hunting in a team, unless there's a coalition of males, of course, but typically they're solitary, and some may be more successful than others, but I don't think they will be as successful in general as wild dogs when it comes to hunting. But good question, and it would be interesting to know of some research done on individual cheetah, comparing their success rates amongst the same species, as well as comparing them to wild dog. But sadly, I don't have any of those facts stored in my head, but I'm sure they will be somewhere, and it is worth looking into. Good question, Bob. Just got a question through from Jane in Colorado. Good evening and welcome. Jane is interested to know whether male cheetahs will kill cubs that they have not sired, just like lions and leopards would do. Now, for those of you who don't know, it is harsh, but it is normal behavior for both lion and leopard males to kill cubs that they have not sired. And the same applies for cheetah. So if they did not fire the cubs and come across a female who still has the responsibility of raising those cubs, they will kill them. And what that does is it allows them to then get their genes into the system. Just got a question through from Carolyn asking if there's any purpose for the white tip at the end of the tail. And yes and no. For a male who has no requirements to help in raising his cubs that he sires, he would therefore not typically have any young animals requiring to follow him, whereas the female cheetah will have cubs that will need to follow her, and that big white ball of fluff at the end of the tail would be a good lure to keep her cubs focused on her when she's moving through the bush, and that way keep following her. So definitely a follow me signal, but only probably relevant for the females and not the males. And I think it's just a matter of moments now before this cheetah gets up and starts moving, and isn't that going to be wonderful to see him pacing through this open plain? The grooming and yawning and stretching is a very good indicator. What we're going to do is try and creep a little bit closer, because people are interested to see the paw pads of the cheetah, and it does have some of those paws displayed, so we will be able to creep a little bit closer, but now it's turned back over again. So maybe Mark will be able to get closer, as he is busy repositioning, and I think he does have that plan. So we're going to cut back to Mark now, as he is in a better position than us. So enjoy the angles, and I'm hoping that they are a little bit closer than us, and you will be able to get a good angle.
Well, someone's asked to get a little bit of a closer angle on the paws, and unfortunately he rolled over when Scott and Jason were trying to get that. So he's now lying in a really great position for us to see his, at least his hind paws. You can see those 3 lobes at the back, which are characteristic of all the cat tracks, but also how the middle lobe of the 3 is sort of indented, it's set in, which the leopard and the lion aren't. But most noticeably, and I don't know if you can pick that up, but that are his claws, and not so much in the tusk marks. Okay, copy. I'm wondering what tusk marks there were on the cheetah. Nick is telling me that there's a bit of discussion about the tusk marks, and I'm looking at the cheetah and I'm thinking, what tusk marks on the cheetah? Okay, I'm being silly, but yes, I guess we could see. Oh, but there's an added thing. That's from a Juma Land Cruiser from this morning. We got charged by a Juma Land Cruiser in the leopard sighting. Put Jason on a vehicle and something's going to bump into it. Sorry, I'm being frivolous. We had a cheetah sighting. Be serious. But yes, I guess that's, you don't often get to see us in our vehicles, in our offices, our toys. But super wonderful toys they are, to be able to bring this to you live from the African bushveld. I don't think there's anywhere else in the world that can do it the way we do it. A wild cheetah that's made an appearance here at Djuma Game Reserve on an open area we call Quarantine. We dream of it every day to see cheetah here, because it's one of the only open areas we really have access to, or large open areas that we have access to. He's a cheetah that will roam quite a vast area, and no doubt there are other big open areas that he utilizes or hunts in. If I'm not mistaken, he's still got a little bit of pink fur around his face, probably from eating quickly. Getting a bit of blood on his fur. From his position, if anything, because of the lie of the land, the topography, if anything was to come out onto the open area or approach him in any way, he's lying fairly low down. He will see their heads appearing above the horizon against the sky. One of the advantages of being very, very flat like a cheetah and being in open grassland like this is to be able to see things from a distance, to be able to have forewarning or foreknowledge if it's for hunting.